Now let's begin with the setup process. We will first define the time units like hours and minutes, and in order to work with payroll, select the option payroll info, which is at the gateway of Tally. So I will select it over here, and to define time units, navigate to the option units and select it and select create. We will first create a unit for hour, so I will define its unit as HRS, which is short for hours, and define the formal name as hour and select not applicable for the field unit quantity code, and I will specify the number of decimal places as 2 so as to calculate hours in decimals like 1.5 hours and so on. And to save the details, press Ctrl A. Similarly, I will create a unit for minutes, and I will leave the decimal places as 0 and save it. And I will also create a compound time unit, which would be an hour of 60 minutes, and save it. So we are done with defining time units. Now we will define the attendance type. Navigate back to the payroll info menu by pressing the escape key and select the option attendance or production types and select the option create. We are required to create attendance type for present, absent and overtime. So we will first create the attendance type as present under primary and select the attendance type for present as attendance or leave with pay. So the option attendance or leave with pay will mark the attendance as positive attendance, which is present, and accept it. Alright, now let's create the attendance type as absent under primary and select the type as leave without pay and accept it. So the option leave without pay will mark the attendance as negative attendance, and the option attendance or leave with pay will mark the attendance as present or positive attendance. Now we are required to create attendance type for overtime. Its attendance type should be production. So whenever you are required to provide extra pay based upon extra work or extra hour of work, you need to select the type as production type, and we will select the unit as hour of 60 minutes and accept it. Now depending upon the attendance type that you specify, the pay value would be calculated based upon the number of days present if the attendance type is attendance or leave with pay, or if you wish to calculate pay value based on number of days an employee was absent, then you need to specify the attendance type as leave without pay, and in order to calculate overtime or any extra work done by an employee, you need to select the type as production. So we are done with defining the attendance details. Now we will proceed with creating the pay heads. We will first define earning pay heads of an employee, and to define pay heads you need to navigate back few options. So press the escape key and press the escape key again, and over here under payroll info menu we have an option called pay heads. You need to select it and select the option create, and the pay head creation screen will appear. So here we will begin our pay head creation process, and I will define the first pay head as basic and press the enter key, and I don't want to provide any alternate name for this pay head, so I will skip this field and then specify the pay head type as earning for employees, which is selected by default. So this is an important step over here to specify the pay head type. So if it is a earning for an employee, then you need to specify the pay head type as earning for employee, and if you are creating a pay head to deduct provident fund from employee earnings, then you need to select the pay head type as employee statutory deductions, and accordingly we have different pay head types which you need to select depending upon the kind of pay head that you are creating. Since basic is an income for an employee, which means it is an earning for employee, so I will select the pay head type as earning for employees. And for the field income type, you need to specify whether the pay head amount is fixed or it varies every time during the payment. So since basic is going to be a fixed income, I am going to specify the income type as fixed over here. Since payment of basic is an expense to an organization and all expenses are grouped under either direct expenses or indirect expenses, so I'll specify indirect expenses over here. Now press the enter key. In the field affect net salary, you can either set this option to yes or you can set it to no. If you set this option to yes, the pay head will appear in salary slip for calculation. And in short, any pay head that you would like to include in pay slip, then you need to select this option as yes. We set this option to no when we create pay heads for employer contributions. So in payslip, employer contributions are not relevant. We use employer's contribution for internal calculation and for internal organizational use. So it has no impact on salary of an employee. So that is why we are not going to include them in payslip and we will keep its option as no. So any pay head that has an effect on net salary, you need to set its option as yes, otherwise set it to no. Now press the enter key, and for the field name to be displayed in the payslip, you can specify the text which you are going to print for this pay head in the payslip. So you can either specify a full name or leave the same name as which you have provided at the time of pay head creation. Now press the enter key. If you want to include this pay head for the calculation of gratuity, you can set it option as yes or you can set it to no. And for your information, gratuity is remuneration paid by an organization when an employee in that organization finishes minimum of 5 years of his service. So as a token of thanks, an organization may provide gratuity based upon the completion of a number of years of service, and the minimum years of service that an individual has to provide is 5 years. So if your organization requires to pay gratuity, you can set its option to yes for calculation, and for this example I will set it to no. Now in the field set or alter income tax details, press the letter Y to change it to yes, and you would be provided with this screen. Over here you need to specify some income tax details. So since this pay head is for basic, then just type the name basic over here and select it. In the field tax calculation basis, you need to specify on what basic amount tax should be calculated. So if your basic is going to be fixed across the period, then specify the option on projected value, and if the basic varies every time at the time of payment, then specify the option on actual value. So with the option on projected value, a fixed basic amount would be projected across tax period, and with the option on actual value, depending upon the basic at the time of payment, that amount would be used for tax calculation. So since our basic is going to be fixed for a period of time, then I will specify the option on projected value over here. And as soon as you press the enter key, you would come out of that screen, and in the field calculation type, you need to specify one of these options, and we need to select the option based upon the type of pay head that we are trying to create. So for this pay head basic, I want to calculate the amount based on the attendance of an employee. So I will specify the option on attendance for this pay head, and what these options are I will explain when we create that kind of pay head that requires to select the other options. So for now I will select the option on attendance, and in the field attendance or leave with pay, you need to specify how you are going to calculate basic for the employee. So if you are going to calculate the salary based upon the number of days an employee was present, then select the option present over here. Or if you are comfortable with calculating salary based on number of days an employee was absent, then select the option not applicable over here and then specify the option absent for the field leave without pay. But for this example, I am going to calculate salary based on number of days the employee was present. So I'll select this option present over here and then specify the calculation period, whether I want to calculate salary on daily basis or fortnight basis. Fortnight means a period of 2 weeks, 14 days, or monthly basis or on weekly basis. I want to calculate salary for the given month, so I'll select the option months over here. Now in the field basis of calculation per day, you need to specify one of the methods based on which per day salary would be calculated. Now assume that monthly salary of an employee is rupees 3000. Now as per calendar period, in the month of January we have 31 days. So for the month of January, per day salary would be calculated as follows. So 96 rupees and 77 paise would be per day salary in the month of January if we specify the basis of calculation as per calendar period. Now again, as per the calendar period calculation basis, in the month of February, the per day salary would be calculated as follows. So this is how the calculation method works, and if I specify the basis of calculation as user defined, then I can define number of days in a given month. So irrespective of the number of days in a given month, like 31 days for January, 28 days for February, my salary would be calculated as per the number of days that I defined over here. So each month per day salary would be 115 rupees 38 paise. So that's how the user defined basis of calculation works. And depending upon the organization, you can define the number of days, like a month of 30 days. So you can define the periodicity of calculation per day. And for our example, I am going to use the number of days as 26 days and press the enter key. Now in the rounding method, I am going to specify the rounding method as normal rounding. So in case the basic amount is calculated as a decimal, then the rounding method will round off it to a nearest whole number, and I will limit my rounding to 1 time and press Ctrl A to save the payhead creation. And this is how the completed payhead for basic looks like. Now in the next video, we will finish off the remaining payheads, all the earning payheads, deduction payheads of employee and contribution payheads of employer, and then we will calculate the salary.